I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Miami Dolphins fans, did you think that Larry K was done talking to you about this team? Phin-Addict Fury, did you think it was on the shelf? Well, you best believe it's not. Larry K is still here. Shake Money's coming at you with In the Blender soon enough. And G is going to have reactions to these free agent signings, which we will be posting as he sends them to me because he's wild and he's sending them from up in New England. Now, look. Today was the first day of free agency, kind of. The league year actually doesn't start till Wednesday, but the Dolphins and other teams could make moves today. And wow, we have a whopper for you with this team. Dolphins, first of all, they re-sign a defensive tackle, Matt Dickerson. Minor move, nothing too crazy. He was promoted from the practice squad. He appeared in 4 games last year. Very, very minor move. Not a ton to get into there. Other than that, the Dolphins relatively quiet. We'll get into the big move that you all want to talk about in a minute. But first, let's just talk about what some of our AFC East rivals have been up to, because they haven't been as quiet as the Miami Dolphins have been. The Bills extended quarterback Josh Allen for 6 years on a $330 million contract. Josh, in my opinion, has earned that contract. Josh is a premier quarterback in this league. The question is going to be for the Buffalo Bills. And, I really did think, and you could, talk all you want. You could hate on me all you want. You could say I'm overreacting all you want. I'm not claiming there's some huge conspiracy. I'm just saying that I did think that Josh Allen got the first down on that 4th and short when he carried the ball. I thought clearly over the line to gain. Refs did not give it to them. Chiefs take the ball back and make the game unattainable. The Buffalo Bills just cannot get through the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs obviously getting taken care of by the Philadelphia Eagles with none other than Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator, which I think is pretty funny when you think about it. All the talk about Vic Fangio not being a cultural fit, Vic Fangio not being good for the Dolphins being better off moving on, all those things really have not panned out to be true, with Vic going to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and having one of the better defenses in the league. Let's not dawdle too much on what could have been, what should have been, and who we lost to the wind. Let's talk about the New England Patriots. They gave former Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams a 4-year contract. Patriots want to make some moves. Obviously made a coaching change that I think is going to benefit them greatly. That's the hire that I wanted to make for the Dolphins. But the Dolphins, of course, don't change anything up. They stick with their guns and Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, and they miss out, I think, again, on a good opportunity. But time will tell. The New York Jets, interesting move. Aaron Rodgers leaves. Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Good luck to them. I think if there's any cultural fit that makes sense, that can maybe absorb his whackness, it could be a strong team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he's not going to dictate what they do and he's just going to be a player. Rodgers was dictating what the Jets were doing far too much. It wasn't a good fit for them, and obviously it ended up in flames, which, as a Dolphins fan, I can't really be mad at. And you shouldn't really be mad at either. I mean, hey, let the Jets do that. But the Jets signing quarterback Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million deal. There was a lot of chatter about a year ago as to whether the Dolphins should bring a guy like Justin Fields in. And if they were to bring a guy like Justin Fields in, there was some talk about, well, could Mike McDaniel, with his prowess with quarterbacks and with Justin Fields' kind of diversified skill set, could they get more out of a Fields? Would a Fields be a good fit for the Miami Dolphins? And would it be worth bringing him in just to kick the tires, even if he's behind Tua, or to give, some competition? Obviously, that didn't happen. Obviously, Fields showed a lot of flashes his rookie year and then didn't really pan out over time. The Jets kicking the tires there. The Jets are turning the page on everything. And, if we usually rely on the Jets not doing very well, the Jets failing, but at the end of the day, At least I give them props for just turning the whole thing over and starting fresh and just rolling with something new. Who knows what will happen with Justin Fields? But speaking of the New York Jets quarterbacks, the Miami Dolphins, the big splash of the Miami Dolphins today. And this is what's funny, just so you guys know. I mean, I'm not one of these people that are sitting there so angry or stomping my feet or hanging on every last breath or hanging on every word that the Dolphins could possibly do, because you already know my opinion. Like, you're not going to get the old Larry K who's enthusiastic, who's going to the games, who's going down to Miami to chill at a tailgate, who's hanging on every bated breath of the Miami Dolphins, following every press conference, following every move. You're not going to get that Larry K with this regime, because I already told you what I think of Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel, the culture down there, the fact that, it's rated one of the best places for players to go because they don't push them that hard down there. Okay? They don't. I don't believe Mike McDaniel can get it done at this point. I don't believe he's the right man to be the head coach. I don't believe Tua Tagovailoa is the guy, whether it's injury issues or on the field limitations or both. I think it's both. I'll tell you, I'm always down to eat crow. I'm a Dolphins fan. I want to be wrong, and I'll always give that disclaimer that I want to be wrong about the Dolphins. I'll always give you that disclaimer that I want to be wrong about the Dolphins because I want the Dolphins to succeed. But I just don't believe in it. So you're not getting somebody here who's frustrated and mad because I actually thought the Dolphins were going to do something awesome in free agency. Because I just don't think that this iteration of the team is going to do anything. Now, obviously, other news, Teron Armstead restructuring his deal helps free up some cap space. He's been injured and inconsistent. He was injured every year since we got him, basically. But he was particularly inconsistent last season. And so that restructuring makes sense. And other than that, the Dolphins lost Braxton Berrios to free agency to the Houston Texans. One-year deal worth $2 million. I thought Berrios was more promising when he first got here. I didn't think he was that formidable last year. And so I'm not too sad to see Braxton head out to Houston. Houston involved in a trade with the Commanders for Laremy Tunsil. I mean, that guy he's a great player, very good left tackle, and he just keeps going around to different teams and getting trade value. So Houston moves on from him, and Houston, they might have surpassed us already after that whole trade and all the hoopla we had about how much Chris Grier fleeced Houston and all that. But let's get to the main event. What do we want to talk about? Even though I'm frustrated, I'm not frustrated because I don't even care. What did we do? What did this regime do today? What did this regime do? Out of all the moves you can make, compared to all the other teams making all these other moves, what did the Miami Dolphins do? What did they do? They signed none other than Zach friggin' Wilson. Zach, the MILF Hunter, Utah Wilson. Zach Utah to $6 million on a one-year deal that could grow to $10 million with incentives. Zach Wilson, the guy. This is what I mean when I say that the other teams are laughing at us with Tua because they don't think he's ever going to be that great, and we think he's so good. Like, we laughed at Zach Wilson, and the Jets wanted to move off Wilson so much they went and got Aaron Rodgers, which didn't work out. Now, look, Zach Wilson has some physical tools. Zach Wilson always had some physical tools. He could create things with his feet. He can throw the ball. He's got a heck of an arm. The problem is when he starts trying to create too much with his feet and he tries to create too much with his arm, he constantly and consistently makes mistakes. And I thought even early in his career that with the New York media and with handling the NFL in general, he wasn't going to be cut out to do it. He had a lot of mishaps with the New York Jets when they asked him, do you think you let the defense down? No. A lot of clashes with the media in that respect. A lot of issues there. Now he goes out to Denver. He learns under one of the best coaches that there are for 1 year. And now he comes to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are not paying chump change for him either. $6 million that could grow to $10 million. That means that the Dolphins either think, A, they can actually develop this kid and Mike McDaniel thinks he can make something out of him. B, They think he's a really formidable backup quarterback because Tua, you're going to count on Tua getting hurt at least once a year, probably for multiple games. Or both those things. Now, is this the worst signing ever in terms of a backup developmental quarterback? No, not necessarily. Is it kind of a joke because, the Dolphins have all these needs? Offensive line, they're going to have a need at safety with Javon Holland making his way out of town. They have needs elsewhere. Is it kind of silly that the biggest move they get to on the first day that we're reporting on this is Zach Wilson? Yeah, kinda. It's kind of silly. It's like of all the moves you could make, this is what you do. But I also think if you read deeper into it, this again says something about what the Dolphins think of Tua Tagovailoa, because Zach Wilson was a number 2 overall pick just a handful of years ago. Zach Wilson is still a young player, and I don't believe in Mike McDaniel's ability to lead men and to create a formidable, solid, competitive culture. I don't believe in Mike McDaniel's ability to do that. But one thing I do believe in Mike McDaniel's and his ability to do is I do believe that Mike McDaniel's can find ways to schematically emphasize the strengths and suppress the weaknesses of quarterbacks. And if Mike McDaniel's took a look at Zach Wilson and said, look, I have a plan for him, I know how to help that guy succeed, then it could be, if anything else, and I'm not saying that I believe in this regime, or it could be interesting to watch at least. I mean, we're going to watch this team anyway, right? Even though I think this team is absolutely crumbling into the abyss and this iteration under this leadership is going nowhere fast, even though I firmly believe that, firmly. I still think we're going to watch anyway because we're fans. That's what we do. And when we watch, I think it'll at least be interesting if Zach gets a chance to play, with odds are he will because of Tua's, inability to stay on the field. I'm curious if Mike McDaniel actually does something innovative with him because he is young and he does have physical talents. And I would even say, yeah, he's not nearly as accurate as Tua. And a lot of that is mental, though. A lot of that is mental mistakes as opposed to physical limitations. He might have more physical gifts than Tua actually has. Now, I don't think the team signed him to replace Tua, but I do think the team didn't want to just go with a run-of-the-mill reliable backup. This signing screams. I want you to pay attention to me. This signing screams that the Dolphins wanted not only a backup, but a potential and possible alternative to Tua Tagovailoa. They don't sign a young guy with some potential and physical attributes if they're just looking for a solid backup. They could have got somebody who was a career backup who was more solid, because Zach Wilson's a wild card. He could be absolutely terrible, which is what he's been, and which is why I know a lot of people are mad, because it's a joke. I mean, the Dolphins are a joke. They signed Zach Wilson. The only Jets quarterback we ever signed that was worth a darn for us was Chad Pennington, and that was for 1 year before his shoulder fell off twice. Great guy, Chad. Got his autograph, but still. It's silly that this is the Miami Dolphins right now. I mean, I get it. But Wilson's either going to be an epic fail, like epic just disaster, or he's going to show something interesting. And with Mike McDaniels, does he have a vision for him? Does he have a plan? And this is going to say a lot, too, about Mike McDaniels in general, as not necessarily as a head coach, because I think there's already a lot of failures there. Now, can Mike grow into the job, and can Mike improve upon his standing as a head coach? Of course he can. Will he? I don't know. But as an offensive mind, this is going to be interesting to see, because I want to see, is Mike McDaniel still handcuffed to Tua Tagovailoa and a one-trick pony, and all he's got is this timing offense? And if Zach Wilson has to play the same way we saw with Skyler, the same way we saw with Teddy, the same way we saw with these other backup quarterbacks that came in, Huntley came in for Tua. We saw an offense that basically was catered toward Tua, and there were no innovations, no tweaks, no adjustments to benefit and maximize the backup quarterbacks. It was just Tua's system, and until Tua came back, we were stuck with what we had. Is Mike McDaniel going to use Zach that way, where he just plugs into Tua's offense and he sinks or swims? Probably sinks because it's catered toward Tua. Or is he going to have a plan for Zach Wilson? Is he going to start developing Zach Wilson? And if Zach has to see action, is he going to have some plan and some strategy? Are we going to see a Zach Wilson in a situation and in an offensive scheme that maximizes his potential? I'm genuinely curious. I am genuinely curious to see which one of those two things occurs. So yes, look, I'm as flabbergasted as the rest of you with this. I'm as underwhelmed with early free agency as the rest of you with this. Of course, this video, by the time it's released and you're watching it, we could have made other moves. So stay tuned to Phin-Addict Fury and the Phin-Addict Fury channel for more content on our signings and our free agency. But I'm somebody who's already over the edge. Like, I already don't think that this year is going to be anything for the Dolphins. I already don't believe that this regime can get it done. I already see the flaws on the roster. A declining Tyreek Hill who's getting paid a ton of money. A Tua Tagovailoa who is getting a ton of money and has never really gotten over the hump and also can't stay healthy. An offensive line that already had holes and vulnerabilities that still hasn't been addressed adequately. A wide receiver core overall that has an okay skill set but was catered towards one type of offense that now defenses have figured out. An offensive scheme that, because of the competition committee and the motions, has been hindered quite a bit, and we saw that last year. A running back room with a lot of talent, especially with Achane, but one that may not be sustainable long-term to pound the rock. A defense that has gone through numerous coordinators now and is going to have another hole. Javon Holland wasn't great last year anyway, but he's gone. We've already lost other key pieces to that defense. And we relied on older guys last year, which was awesome, but it's not going to get us over the hump long term. And a culture that I think really is struggling with toughness, a culture that's struggling with determination to win, is struggling with winning as a key emphasis of the team and culture. I think that the emphasis of the team and culture in Miami seems to be make a ton of money, be the best citizens you can be, unless you're Tyreek and you want to get into a lot of trouble and get bad headlines here and there because you're a superstar. But benefit, chill out, relax in the sun. This is just a day job. Win or lose, we do it for the love of the game. And that's great. That's the philosophy they want. But as a fan who's a long-suffering fan, when we haven't won a playoff game in years, the longest drought, I mean, at this point, I don't care about that happy-go-lucky stuff. I want this team to win, and I don't think the culture is there to do it. So as somebody who's already over that edge in Larry K here, I'm not going to cry like crazy about this signing. I'm going to point out objectively, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And I'm just genuinely, sheer curiosity about what Mike McDaniel can do with a guy with a lot of physical talent, but who I don't think ever really had it. Do I think Zach Wilson is going to emerge now because Mike McDaniel's coaching him with some scheme that Zach Wilson's going to emerge as some awesome player all of a sudden and we're going to be marvel? No, I don't. I think Zach Wilson's going to stay Zach Wilson. I don't think he's ever going to be very good. I think he's got limitations that are just never going to make him a starting premier quarterback in this league. That's what I think. Do I want to eat crow? And is there enough variable in Zach Wilson that I may eat crow that, wow, this could be an interesting thing? Yeah, I guess. So I'm along for the ride, but I'm along for the ride with this team no matter what this year because I don't think anything great is happening. So that is what it is, guys. I had to sit here. I had to talk to you. Had to let you know we're still breathing. We're still out here. Remember, you can join. There's behind-the-scenes videos available, cross-examinations of press conferences, behind-the-scene pilots for things with Shake and I, behind-the-scenes stuff of me just driving around the neighborhood talking to you, only the members, while I'm going about my day-to-day life. You get some other insights into my brain and how it works. Click the join button. I also write a column during the season that's accessible only to subscribers. So if you want, click the join button, become an official member of Fury Fam. There'll also be giveaways soon for members. Some people got this hat. It's hard to see right now, but a Phin-Addict Fury hat. And we are continuing to give members perks, especially this season. So join. But even if you don't want to become a member, you can subscribe to the channel. We have got to get to 3,000 subscribers. Click that subscribe button and join Fury Fam. You get plenty of perks even if you're just a subscriber, and you'll be able to stay tuned to all the content that comes out on this channel. We are an objective Miami Dolphins channel. It ain't our day job, but when we hit the mic, we sure hit the mic with purpose. Larry K is out, Finn's up, I guess as much as you could say. We'll talk soon.